Alcoholics Anonymous is a worldwide organization that has helped countless alcoholics achieve sobriety through a spiritual program of recovery. Based on principles known as the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, AA has provided a model for other recovery programs such as Narcotics Anonymous, Gamblers Anonymous. Here to discuss the spiritual aspects of AA is Roy, a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, who has been sober for more than 20 years. And before we start, it's worth mentioning that obviously the anonymous within Alcoholics Anonymous will be true today in our show. So Roy here, we're obviously just addressing by his first name. Thanks very much for coming in today.
Thanks. It's good to be here.
Now, perhaps we could zero in on discussing the spiritual aspect of Alcoholics Anonymous and what role that plays towards the pursuit of sobriety.
Certainly, Alcoholics Anonymous suggests that the alcohol part of my problem is really and truly only a side effect of the problem. The true problem with my addiction and my alcoholism is that there's something wrong within me, in my makeup, in my personality. And Alcoholics Anonymous suggested to me that if I didn't address that and try to change it, that I wouldn't be able to stay sober. I could stop drinking quite easily, but staying sober and staying away from alcohol just wouldn't work. And we've seen that over and over the years in our existence, that there has to be a change within the person before the addiction can be helped.
I've, certainly myself seen that it's almost revolutionary in the way that AA addresses addiction as an illness and approaches it as such. And, many people may have heard of the 12-step program or have, seen variations of it. Are there explicit mention within the 12 steps in terms of addressing the spiritual dynamic of addiction?
Alcoholics Anonymous was very careful in the early days to define a God or a higher power as I understand him. It's not a God of organized religion. It's a higher power that I come to understand within myself.
A very personal.
A very personal one. I can borrow one from someone else, but it winds up being my construct. And as such, it becomes a spiritual thing, I believe.
Now, as you mentioned, obviously one aspect of dealing with one's addiction is a very personal struggle. But at the same time, similar to other spiritual practices, there's a group dynamic. And let's say within every AA meeting, there are people who come together and stand up and speak to each other. Can you perhaps describe a bit more about these types of events and the role they play in each person's rehabilitation?
The basic tenet of Alcoholics Anonymous is that I have no expertise in anything except what I know and what I have experienced. So the underlying strength and the underlying basis of Alcoholics Anonymous from the first day of its existence back in the mid-30s is one alcoholic sharing with another, me telling another alcoholic what worked for me in a situation. And there is strength in knowing that you're not terminally unique, and there's safety in being in a room of people where I can say my innermost feelings about what, say, happened to me today, and people will understand.
Now, obviously, Alcoholics Anonymous, as you mentioned, has been around since the 30s, and it strikes me that it's helped a lot of people in a number of different ways. Perhaps you could comment a bit about how widespread the organization is, and, is it a worldwide organization? To what extent is it international and helping many people all over the world?
Alcoholics Anonymous has a presence all over the world. Our literature is currently translated into well over 50 languages. We have a presence in almost 100 countries, as far as I know, perhaps over. And it's odd that you would call it an organization, because actually Alcoholics Anonymous isn't an organization. We are just this grouping of people suffering from a similar malady who have found a way out.
Seems rather decentralized, based upon people coming together as its only form.
Yeah, it's the only democracy in my mind that has actually ever worked for any length of time. There are no dues. There are really no requirements for membership. I belong to Alcoholics Anonymous because I say I am a self-admitted alcoholic, and that's all it takes. They don't even take my name and address.
And when you travel, are you able to go to different meetings in different places?
Oh, definitely, yes. And the feelings, the languages will be different. The feelings will be the same. We had an international convention in Toronto this summer with over 45,000 people.
Wow.
From over 100 countries. I was able to meet a man from Mongolia, one from Beijing, China, and another one from India, and we came just to celebrate freedom that we each of us has found, being free from our addiction.
And do you find any difficulty in not so much getting your message out, but being accessible to people and being open? Is there challenges in terms of alerting the public to your presence and letting them know that you're available?
It's a fine line, I think, that we walk. We are Alcoholics and Anonymous, and we are an anonymous society, but we are certainly not a secret society.
It's more respecting each person's privacy.
Yes, it's more respecting each person's privacy, knowing that there's somebody in the audience today out there watching this who will be reassured by the fact that his name and face won't be spread over publicly when he or she chooses to come to Alcoholics Anonymous to see if there is help. We do as much public information work as we can, and word of mouth always works. I'm a testimonial when I walk down the street because I'm walking in a straight line.
Well, thank you very much for coming in. I know I certainly appreciate the work that AA does, and I'm very glad that you've been able to come and join us and tell our audience more about AA.
Thank you so much.
We've been discussing Alcoholics Anonymous with our guest Roy, who is a member of AA and has been sober for over 20 years. Next on 3D Dialogue, creation stories within Aboriginal cultures. We'll be right back. You're watching 3D Dialogue. Stay tuned.
Call the Rogers Television Viewer Response Line at 1-800-939-7787 or visit our website with your comments. Your world right now.